Sometimes when I'm just bored or like just down or whatever, I like to go on Amazon and read the review for sugar-free gummy bears. Have you ever read one?
Mm, no, but I know they're awful.
Oh my god, you need to read one of the reviews. Hang on, I'm gonna find it. Forrest, do you want me to just read some of these to you?
Sure.
Okay. So this one was from like 2017. Wait, hang on, is this the right one?
Or
Yeah.
I could just look them up.
I originally bought these things with the intention of eating a few to see if anything happened, but after feeling no sudden effects for 2 hours, I decided they didn't work and gave some to the other tenants living here. I said they could eat as many as they want, but that's when I learned it was a bad idea. I was finally getting ready for bed when all of a sudden I felt the farts coming. I, I smiled and accepted this challenge.
Wow.
Thinking it would be no problem whatsoever. I went to sleep and woke up hours later in a pool of my own cold sweat and the sounds of what I can only describe as the gates of hell in my stomach. I crawled, I crawled to the bathroom and got on the toilet as fast and precise as possible. Then I prepared for my bowels to erupt and quite possibly leave me dead. It's currently 2 in the morning here where I'm at, and I have been on the toilet for the last 20 minutes erupting liquid fire out of my ass. My roommate has been laughing the entire time while I sit and suffer on the toilet seat. 10 out of 10 would buy these gummy bears again.
But but this guy gave all the tenants some.
Oh my god, here's a longer one. Alright. This one's from March 18th, 2018. It all started at 6 in the morning. The night before, one of my hunting buddies had bought these without noticing that they were sugar
I
free.
found it. It only
This
has
one,
1 star.
yeah,
It's tragic.
he's one of those guys always reading about the effects of food and dieting and stuff and refused to eat them, claiming they would make you gain weight. So he gave them to me. I was out in the deer woods, far from any toilet or toilet paper. If I could go back in time, I would have ran my friend over on the way, or made sure my parents have never met, because after just 5 or so of these hell-bent demon-possessed spawn of Satan bears, I knew I should have read the comments before taking these off my friend's hands. It all started
I'm
with a
not.
low rumble, like a rhino, like a like a distant thunder, or the mating call of rhinoceros. I was sure it would scare away any deer within a 5 mile radius, but it didn't stop there. My intestines began to move inside of me like snakes after eating cherry bombs. My soul itself seemed to be working its way through my bowels. By then I knew I had to get out of that tree stand, but by then I knew it was too late. I made a break for it just as the sun began to rise. I ran like a madman in the way that I can only describe as pregnant ostrich Sasquatch women. I had only made it a few yards when I'd only made it a few yards when Lucifer when Lucifer himself shot out of me like a potato tied to a ceiling.
A potato flew around the room.
I, I crumbled to the ground as I tried to rip off my extremely expensive no-scent camouflage hunting pants, but it was too late. I stayed in that spot for what felt like hours. My life flashed before my eyes, and I relived the time I caught my first bass. I prayed to God to kick a satellite from the sky to crush me. But my cries for mercy were covered by the explosions of Satan still coming from my body. The stuff coming out of me would have... The stuff coming out of me would have caught fire if he struck a match anywhere near it. As I sat with my tormented thoughts, I saw the biggest buck I have ever seen in my life, about 12 or 14 point, walk slowly past my cheese stand. A flipping perfect shot. I sat in a puddle of my own defeat, trying not to suffocate on the fumes coming from the tainted turd. After what seemed like an eternity, I managed to waddle back to my brand new truck, where I had no other clothes or anything to clean myself with. The smell of my truck and the butt stains left on my once perfect seats will forever torment my dreams. I have gone through an eternity of air fresheners and nothing has worked. Whenever someone has to drive with me and they ask what happened to my truck, I tell them a really long story about how I delivered a calf in the middle of the night. Oh my god. Oh no, I found another
This one is.
August 9th, 2018. So I read through a lot of the reviews here and decided it might be a fun prank item to buy. Since I'm an evil human being, I received my 5-pound bag 2 days after ordering. Now I was somewhat skeptical, especially since my own digestive system is fairly robust. It takes some potent stuff to give me the runs. Some laxatives even have no effect on me, so I tried them. I ate 5 bears before bed. Woke up. Nothing. Thought to myself, these are weak. But they do taste amazing. So I ate approximately 20 more of them that morning. In less than half an hour, my gut was rumbling. But it was only some gas. Meh. About another half hour passed. Then it hit me. Oh boy, it hit me hard. My gut felt... Wait, hang on. My gut felt like Chuck Norris had reached his hand up my anus and had roundhouse kicked my insides. I made my way to the bathroom with a brisk walk. Sat down on the toilet. It took a few seconds, but then all hell broke loose. I've literally never had diarrhea that explosive before. Kid you not, I sat there through 5 gnarly explosions before the floodgates opened and about a gallon and a half
Hold on, how much are these?
liquid ran out of me. I'm a firm believer in these products' potential,
Only
and now I'm
$24?
packing up the reminder of my 5-pound bag to give to select friends and family. May even leave a bowl of them in the break room at work. Oh my god. Oh.
You do realize that these sugar-free bears have the exact same calories as regular Haribo gummy bears?
Oh no.
I foolishly ignored the warnings and purchased a 5-pound bag of these potent evil apparitions posing as delectably tasty goodies. The laxative effect of these sugar-free gummy candies is nuclear. I first noticed rumblings in my intestines. Rumblings as my intestines began a protest that escalated to world-shaking levels. The gurgling and surging was grotesque. They continued to increase in both intensity, duration, until the volume alerted all in the house of my impending explosion. Sphincter tightly clenched, I urgently made the most awkward, hurried, hobbling walk to the bathroom. I arrived just barely in time as the propulsion became a cataract, which physically lifted me forcefully off my seat at the commode without being able to properly grasp and maintain butt to seat integrity. I shudder to wonder the scope of destruction of the resulting explosiveness. The stench quickly overcame the exhaust fan.
Oh,
Passive air fresheners, aerosol sprays, and a tightly closed door. It was beyond awful. In an effort to save others in the house from a fate worse than death, I even risked waddling to the door between liquid explosions to stuff a damp towel futilely to seal the gap. Several spiders that had made their home unnoticed in the exhaust fan housing dropped down stone cold dead. Doors slammed as my wife and children became refugees, grabbing hats and coats, and fled seeking breathable air elsewhere. I was abandoned and left alone to suffer my fate. The peculiar and noxious smell is putrid and penetrating. It is worse than burnt hair. These disgusting alleged candies are actually mislabeled prescription-only colonoscopy evacuation materials. Damn. I'm gonna buy these.
Alright, hang on. Alright, Forrest. October 24th, 2017. Do you hear me, Forrest?
Yes.
Alright. Alright, October 24th, 2017. I knew it was coming the moment I swallowed one of these villainous bears. I had read the reviews, and I was prepared for the master cleanse. But I really couldn't prepare myself for the pain that was about to ensue. Nobody could possibly anticipate or fathom the hellish nightmare that is sugar-free deliciousness of Albanese gummy bears. I received a 5-pound bag and immediately grabbed a handful of the little guys. Quite honestly, I thought I was immune to their powers, because after several hours, all I could really experience was some pretty foul flatulence. Then I thought that I was hot shit and had 4 more handfuls. I am not sure what I was thinking. After this, I laid down and began to fall asleep. It was about 9:30 in the evening, and then it hit. Noises. Oh my sweet lord, the noises. It sounded like an old jalopy on its last hurrah. My family thought the dog was fighting with a cat, and they were both on the brink of death. Just truly awful sounds. Round 1 hit me like a freaking freight train. My feet were actually lifted off of the ground. I struggled to hold on. I've watched a lot of I've watched a lot of rodeo in my day, and the only thing I could think to do was grab onto the bottom of the toilet and ride that puppy out. I wish it was only an 8-second ride. Round 1 was probably more like an 18-minute ride, but who really knows? Because I lost all concept of time for the duration. It briefly slowed down, and thought for a fleeting moment, oh my lands, I think the horror is over. How ignorant I was. The next noise to come out of me can quite honestly only be described as if someone stuck a leaf blower straight into a porcelain bowl and filled it with the blubber of a baby seal on full blast. The acoustics were incredible. This noise, was inevitably the start of what I can only assume to be round 2 through 7. For the next 6 to 8 hours, my body was ravaged, violated, and I dare say maliciously raped by these damn things. I passed food I had eaten as a small child. Food my mother had eaten while I was in the womb. Things my mother had eaten before she was pregnant with me. Literally anything you could think of. It just kept coming. The worst part of the whole deal was that the gummies weren't chewed up like I assumed they would be, because I vividly remember thoroughly masticating the hell bears. These little jokers reincarnated themselves inside of me and plummeted towards my sphincter like 100 paratroopers jumping right into the heart of the Viet Cong. I feared for myself physically. I am not sure how long I sat in agony of the throne that I used to call my happy place. I will forever have Vietnam level flashbacks anytime I look at the white porcelain. I will never be the same after this gummy bear cleanse. I continued to camp out on the toilet until I mustered up the courage to crawl back to bed. However, when I attempted to stand, my legs buckled from weakness. I fell somehow under my sink. My face was buried in a mysterious pile of pubic-haired small termite-like bugs. Still not sure what that was about. Nonetheless, I was thankful for the public pillow God had given me. It was far better than the burning pain of the gummy bears on my sphincter. I stayed in this same position for the rest of the day. I am currently in physical recovery from this incident, although I will never recover completely mentally. This was truly an awful experience for both mind and body. September 6th, 2016. What can I say about these devilishly delightful little bears that hasn't already been said? These aren't meant to be eaten. They're meant to be experienced. I received these only a few days after ordering, and after reading all of these reviews, I had to mentally and physically prepare myself for what may happen. My stomach processes things differently, so I had no idea if I was going to be preparing a consequence-free gummy bear gorge fest, or if I was going to be committing the equivalent of a sugar-free seppuku. I was just going to see where the night took me. I ate a handful of 5 at a time, spread out over a 3-hour period. For being sugar-free, these were very delicious. Still, I was anticipating the worst. Oh, and how the worst met all of my expectations. For a bit, I figured the bears pulled a Gilligan and were just stranded somewhere inside my gullet. But oh, no. After the 3-hour tour ended, my stomach let loose a roar that would have intimidated a Tyrannosaurus. The worst part was, I actually fell asleep about the 50th gummy bear. So imagine my pleasant surprise when a sharp pain in my stomach brought me from my pleasant land of slumber to the nightmarish hell I was about to experience. I felt like I was about to give birth. And give birth I did. The first blast was the loudest. My upstairs neighbors complained about my violation of quiet hours. They thought I was blaring Louis Armstrong and scooting furniture. Jazz hands, everybody. My cat ran and hid. I haven't seen her for days. I heard a rap upon my front door in response to the knock upon the rear. Ancient Spartan warriors had heard the trumpet blast and had shown for battle. I noticed my Christian neighbors out on the lawn looking up at the sky, crossing themselves because they thought that the trump of the Lord had sounded for the rapture. I own the United States Geological Survey and explanation as to the anomaly. The anomaly their instruments probably picked up from central Indiana. But alas, the first ass blast was not the last. Like Pringles, you know we couldn't have just one. And once you pop, the fun doesn't stop. The The first horn was followed by a resounding sphincter symphony that quite literally filled the air. John Williams would have been proud. The dogs of war continued to bark, but soon the chain would break and it was to be unleashed. I arose to head to the porcelain throne to give what felt to be a most generous offering to the god of thunder buckets, and my stoic John Coffey-esque resolve turned into a Tasmanian devilish whirlwind as my walk of shame turned into a sprint of panic. Some men calmly walked the brown mile. I raced down it, looking for that sure relief and release that a pride on old Sparky would hopefully give. What ensued will forever be etched into the annals, yes, annals, you dirty bird, of history. A great many atrocities have occurred in the 20th century, but most pale in comparison to that which the gummy bears had wrought. The first wave to any outsider would have been reminded one of a Judas Priest concert as I belted out a Rob Halford screech accompanied by the sound of a million guitars. What can only be compared to the violent sounds of never-ending barrage of artillery and gunfire our brave boys storming the beaches of Normandy heard as they answered the call of duty. Many came from the bathroom. The collective noises and experiences of all the battles and wars that have been fought by man, the bloodshed, the violence, the gore, the deafening thundering of gunfire is reenacted in a 3-minute span. I still have not the heart nor the strength to go back in there after the last time. So much was sacrificed. So much was lost. I prayed to every god I could think of as I rode the lightning. I looked everywhere for salvation, looked outward, and thought to myself what horrible things I was doing to my fellow man. I then looked within what the gummies left for me to find within was horrifying. I still cannot I still cannot speak of it to this day. The great god of the porcelain pot was pleased, so I humbly beseeched him and brought many offerings. I begged his mercy, but only after about 6 hours did I gain favor enough to leave the throne and return to my peaceful slumber. After eating these gummy bears, I felt like a new man. Literally, I expelled what felt like almost all of my internal organs that night. And as I sit here, eating the last half of the bag and reflect upon my experience, I smile because I know, very soon, I know I will hear the gurgle again. Oh, well, I have to cut this review short.
I got the
That
face
was
puncher now.
That was an amazing read.
Simply beautiful.